Hello everyone, this is Chester Bansal from EcoHonor second semester, and today in this video, we will be discussing about market demand. So first, let's talk about what is market. Market is a means by which sellers and buyers exchange goods and services either directly or through mediating agents or institutions. Buyers determine demand for the product and sellers as a group determine supply of the product. In this chapter, we assume that markets are perfectly competitive. To reach this, a market must have two characteristics. First is the goods offered for sale are all exactly the same. And second is buyers and sellers are numerous, that no individual buyer or seller has any influence over market price. As they are in perfectly competitive market, they must accept the price determined by the market forces, and therefore they are said to be price taker. Demand curve. To understand this, we first need to know what is quantity demanded. Quantity demanded is the amount of goods that buyers are willing to purchase and have that ability to purchase that good. Demand curve. In economics, a demand curve is a graph which depicts the relationship between price of a good and quantity demanded at that price. Let's have a look at the graphical representation of the demand curve. In this diagram, price is represented along y-axis, quantity demanded is represented along x-axis, and the curve labeled as demand is our demand curve, which depicts the relationship between price and the quantity demanded at that price. Law of demand. Law of demand states that as price increases, the quantity demanded at that price decreases, and vice versa. Let's take an example to understand this topic better. Here we have two columns, price of ice cream cone and quantity of cones demanded. And we have represented price of ice cream cone along y-axis and quantity of ice cream cones along x-axis. As we can see that at $0, 12 cones were demanded, at 50 cents, 10 cones were demanded, at $1, 8 cones were demanded, at $1.50, 6 cones were demanded, and so on. And now as we plot the points on the graph, we get a downward sloping straight line, which is our demand curve. The demand curve is a downward sloping because an increase in price results in decrease in quantity demanded at that price and vice versa. We can see in the table, as price increases from $0 to 50 cents, there is a decrease in the quantity demanded from 12 cones to 10 cones. And now as other way around, as price decreases from $2 to $1.50, there is an increase in the quantity demanded from 4 cones to 6 cones. And now we can see that this thing proves a law of demand. Market demand versus individual demand. Individual demand refers to the demand for a good or service by an individual, and market demand is the sum of all the individual demands for a good or service. Let's understand this better by an example. Suppose there are two businesses of ice cream that are currently running in the market. First is Catherine's and second is Nicholas. And here, as we can see that at $0, Catherine demanded for 12 cones, and at $0, Nicholas demanded for 7 cones. At 50 cents, Catherine demanded for 10 cones and Nicholas demanded for 6 cones. At $1, Catherine demanded for 8 cones and Nicholas demanded for 5 cones, and so on. And we can observe that as the price increases, there is a decrease in the quantity demanded in both the businesses. Now, to find out market demand, we need to add individual demands of all the individual businesses that are currently running in the market for a particular good or service. Here, we will be summing up the demand of Catherine's and Nicholas's business at the same price level. So here, at $0, Catherine demanded for 12 cones and Nicholas demanded for 7 cones. And to find out market demand, we will add them up. That is 12 plus 7, 19. So at $0, market demanded for 19 cones. And similarly, we can find that at 50 cents, market demanded for 16 cones. At $1, market demanded for 13 cones. At $1.50, market demanded for 10 cones, and so on. Now let's have a look at the graphical representation. Here we have represented our individual demand curves, and this is a market demand curve. Now here we have plotted the graph, and we can see that by adding the individual demand curve horizontally, we get a market demand curve, and it is a downward sloping because an increase in the price of the ice cream cone results in the decrease in the market demand and vice versa. Shifts in demand curve. If something happens to alter the quantity demanded at any given price, the demand curve shifts. Any change that increases the quantity demanded at every price shifts the demand curve to the right and is called an increase in demand. Any change that reduces the quantity demanded at every price shifts the demand curve left and is called a decrease in demand. Let's have a look at the graphical representation. We have represented price of ice cream cone along y-axis, quantity demanded along x-axis. Suppose there is any change that increases the quantity demanded at every price, this will shift the demand curve towards right, that is from D1 to D2, indicating an increase in demand. And now suppose there is any change that decreases the quantity demanded at every price, this will shift the demand curve towards left, that is from D1 to D3, indicating decrease in demand. Variables affecting demand curve. There are 5 variables that we will study. First is income, second is price of related good, third taste, 4 expectations, and 5th number of buyers. First variable is income. Let's start this with an example. Say we have an initial demand curve for a certain kind of car. Now imagine economy expands in a way that increases the income of many people, which makes cars more affordable for them, This will increase the demand for cars, leading to rightward shift in demand curve, representing increase in demand. Now imagine economy shrinks in a way that reduces the income of many people, making cars less affordable for them. This will cause a demand curve to shift leftward, and this will represent a decrease in demand. Now there are 2 types of goods, normal and inferior goods. Normal goods are those goods whose demand rises when income rises and vice versa. For example, demand for cars. As income increases, people will buy more cars as they are now more affordable, and thus there will be an increase in the demand for cars, and vice versa. Inferior goods. Inferior goods are those goods whose demand falls when income rises, and vice versa. For example, bus rides. As income increases, people would love to travel through cars than bus rides. Therefore, there is a decrease in the demand for bus rides. Price of related goods. Related goods are those goods whose prices rises lead to the decrease in the demand for the other good. Or we can say that whenever there is an increase in the price of one good, there will be a decrease in the demand for the another good. Now there are two types of goods in this: substitute goods and complementary goods. Substitute goods are those goods who are often used as a pair, that is in place of each other, such as tablets and laptops. Whenever there is a fall in the price of tablets, there will be an increase in the quantity demanded of tablets because of the law of demand. Since people are purchasing tablets, there will be a decrease in the demand for laptops, which can be shown graphically as a leftward shift in the demand curve for laptops. Complementary goods. Complements are often the pairs of goods that are used together, such as golf clubs and golf balls. If the price of golf clubs rises, the quantity demanded of golf clubs falls because of the law of demand, and demand for a complement good like golf balls decreases along with it. Change in taste. Favorable change in taste induces the buyer to buy more of a commodity at that price. This will lead to the increase in demand, that is rightward shift in the demand curve. An unfavorable change in taste causes lesser purchase of the commodity at that price. This leads to the decrease in the demand, that is leftward shift in the demand curve. Expectations. Your expectations about the future may affect your demand for a good or service today. For example, if you expect to earn a higher income next month, you may choose to save less now and spend more of your current income to buy a good. As another example, if you expect the price of a good to fall tomorrow, you may be less willing to buy that good at today's price. Number of buyers. We know that market is a summation of all the individual demand for a particular good or service, and it depends on number of buyers in the market. Suppose a consumer of ice cream were to join the so it will lead to the increase in the demand of the ice cream, that is the quantity demanded in the market would be higher at every price, and this will shift the demand curve towards right. And now suppose there is a consumer of ice cream who were to disjoin, then this will lead to the decrease in the demand of ice cream, that is the quantity demanded in the market would be lesser at every price, and there will be a leftward shift in the demand curve. So that's it for this video. Thank you.